Okay, so if you look at the second part of installation, we installed SBT, we installed the Scala IDE, we created the connection on the SBT plugin. So even before here, so 2A was trying to create a SBT Eclipse plugin .sbt file, and then you run the project creation, and then of course you run the SBT tool. Okay? So the command that you used here to start the SBT was SBT Eclipse. After creating a build file, in this case build.sbt, then you are able to run it. So this was part 2. Now let us move on to the Python installation. We have already installed Python, as you can see. So now we are only left with two steps here. One is to install PyCharm, and then the other one is to install the Python project and then connect to this library. So that's what we are going to do in this third video. So let me open up a browser again. For some reason I'm not able to start anything from the taskbar, so I'm using an existing window here. So I want to install PyCharm installation. Okay. So that should get me to PyCharm download. So you can see that yeah, I agree. Yeah. So you can see that it gets you to the Windows download page. So go for the community edition because the professional one needs a license. Of course, as NUS students, you are entitled to get a license. You've got to write to them quoting our course name and my name. I've actually worked out a license support with IntelliJ, and then of course you have to use the NUS email ID. Then you can probably get a professional license also if you want to try. But for our purpose of coding, community version is good enough. So I'm going to download that and get going. So I'm going to say save this on the downloads. Okay. Of course, you can also enroll for your regular emails, which updates you on whatever latest software they have. So it takes a minute or two depending on how your internet speed works. So in my case, it took me a minute or so. So once the installation is done, I select the PyCharm installer. It should start. So you can see that it gets started here, and then it comes to this wizard. So I accept the defaults. I'm not going to change anything. Okay. So of course I want to create a desktop shortcut. Okay. I also want to have a context menu. Wherever there's a Python, I want to connect it to this IDE. Of course, I can also put the launch directories into the path just to be safe. Then I say install. So this is going to go through some wizard pages for a minute or two, and then once it is done, it will ask you to reboot the machine. Okay. So I'm going to stop the video here and then continue, probably I will show you after without rebooting. Okay, but, because I just want to show you how the code works, so that one should not be a lot of problems. So let's just look at the simple codes and then see if we can run an example. That should be okay. Okay, so I want to manually reboot later is fine, so I'm going to select that. And if you come down into the menu, you can see that it has created a shortcut for you. Okay, so for some reason I can't use this, so I'm going to pause. So you can see that it starts up with the privacy. I will confirm that I will comply to the privacy. You can share anonymous statistics, no harm. So you can see that it gives you a help menu. I'm going to skip that and then start it. So I'm going to say new project. Let me call this, maybe I'll put this in the lead as usual. I'll just call this as PyCharm project. And I'll just leave the environment as Python. But you see, I will pick the 3.6. That's the only Python I have, so I don't have a problem. But if you have multiple versions, make sure you pick the 3.6. Then I click on the create, so it creates a project structure for me. So I will wait for the setup to be over. So the SDK has come up, which is good. Okay. So which basically means I'm able to create a project structure. I can simply run this hello world and see if it works. Okay. But I think I'm not so keen on, maybe we should try this. Okay, right click and say run. Then you will see, you will be able to see the high PyCharm. Okay. So this basically means the working is fine. So, but my next job is to connect to the file. So I got to use the settings, and inside the settings, I should look for a particular subfolder which is called as project structure. So let me see where it is. It's inside the project structure. So here is where I have to connect to my Spark libraries. You remember we used SBT's tool in Scala, right? Very similarly here, I'm hard coding the path because there's no other way that I'm going to be able to tell Python where it is. So I'm just going to hard code it. So I'm going to say add context rule, and I'm going to point to the Spark library, and I got to point to the Python folder. So this is one I want to add. Then of course I have to add the inside the Python, inside the library, there are two jar files. I'll add zip files, which I'll add one by one. One is the 7-zip and the other one is the PySpark. So when I'm done with all these things, I'm having a workspace which is ready for testing. Okay, so it says that there is a PyPandoc which is not there. So I'm going to say install whatever is needed. So then it says it basically installs the packages that are necessary. It's a documentation package. Even without that it works, but it's not bad. You can simply install those installation instructions as it asks you. Okay. So that should be fine. Okay. So once you have done that, let's see if the Spark code works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a very simple Spark code that basically try to ping my Spark library. So I've created a app called my Spark application. I've decided the number of line is dummy.txt. I should be creating the dummy.txt first. So let me just create that and new search file. I'm going to create a text file, plain text. I don't want to create a scratch. I want to create a new one. Okay. So maybe what I should do is I'll create it here, new file, dummy.txt. I'll put some codes there, right? And probably I can just some text, right? So that it has some content. So I've opened the text file and then I'm trying to see if there is any. So you can see that it is missing Spark conf. So I'm going to say from Spark. Just a minute, I think I forgot my syntax. Scala import is different from Python import. So Python, you got to say the library first, then your client. So again, from PySpark import you need a Spark configuration as well. So if you say that, I think the error should go away. So let's see. Let's see if this works. Right click and say run runway. So it says the total number of lines the file has is 3, which is correct. So it does run, but for some reason it's giving me an error. It should be something to do with the formatting. Let me check that later. So this is how you generally work with Python and Spark. So that finishes the third part of the demo basically. So what we did is we installed PyCharm, and then of course we also connected. What we connect is basically add context root in project structure, which was inside the settings menu. Okay, so we were able to connect. So we basically connected the folder zip files, right, of Spark via the context root. So that's basically what we did. Then of course this is the library connection. After PyCharm installation we did that. Of course we tested a Python code, which was calling the Spark framework. That did its job. So that completes the full setup. And if you're ready with all these things, you're ready to try all the other workshops that subsequently follows this day 1. So we hope that you take time and then finish all this installation and then come back to lessons on day 2. Thank you very much.